Hello, my friends. This is Brian Q. Davis broadcasting from the Sales Warrior Podcast, a conversation about dominating your marketplace without sacrificing your body, your marriage, your children, or your soul. And today's topic is this: silence exposes truth. Sit back and relax, and let's get started. Just those few moments of silence. It felt uncomfortable. It felt unexpected. The last thing you'd expect to hear during a podcast is nothing. We are, and we do, live in a world where every moment of every day when we are awake, there's noise. There's noise with all of the electronic stimulation that we have. There's noise from the people around us. There's noise, literal noise, in the world around us. And in that place, our mind is triggered by all kinds of things in all kinds of directions. And in that triggered state, we hide. We can actually hide in that noise. We hide from the feelings we don't want to feel. We hide from the truth that we don't want to see. We hide the lies that we're continuing to tell. We hide the secrets that we continue to keep secret. In just the noise. Indeed, that noise is the easiest place to hide because it's in such abundance. Silence is very uncomfortable. It can be. It can also be one of the most powerful places to plug in. And it's a place that you must go if you're on a mission. How do we know this? Well, it doesn't take long to see the behavior of Jesus in Mark 1 when he first begins his ministry. In the Gospel of Mark, it talks about how Jesus heals many. In verse 29, it says, "And immediately he got up and left the synagogue and entered the house of Simon and Andrew with James and John. And now Simon's mother-in-law lay ill with a fever, and immediately they told him about her. And he came up and took her by the hand and lifted her up, and the fever left her, and she began to serve them. And that evening at sundown, they brought him all who were sick and oppressed by demons, and the whole city was gathered at the door." The whole city. "And he healed many who were sick with various diseases and cast out many demons, and he would not permit the demons to speak because they knew him." In other words, here's a picture of masculinity. A man absolutely on a mission, serving others, the entire town, all day, all night. Now, you think after a day like that, it would be totally reasonable to expect that, the man might sleep in a little bit. Except I want you to pay attention to the behavior here. In verse 35, "And rising very early in the morning, while it was still dark, he departed and went out to a desolate place, and there he prayed. And Simon and those who were with him went searching for him, and they found him and said to him, 'Hey, everybody's looking for you.' And he said to them, 'Let us go out to the next towns, that I may preach there also, for that is why I came out.' And they went through all of Galilee, preaching in the synagogues and casting out demons." Okay, you're like, how does this have anything to do with sales? Your sales, your effectiveness or lack of effectiveness, is highly dependent on your own personal certainty. Ultimately, that is what people will buy. They're not buying your product. They're buying your certainty because, truth be told, in most cases, there's somebody else that probably has a product kind of like yours. People buy certainty. What's the behavior of the most certain man in history? He gave and he gave and he gave until sundown. And then did he sleep in? Nope. He had a practice, and he did this often, of rising very early in the morning while it was still dark. He departed. He woke up. Everyone else is asleep. It's still dark. The whole world is asleep. And he even left the vicinity of his house or the house and went to a desolate place, meaning it's just him. And what did he do? He prayed. He got into that silence. You see, because Jesus was a man with nothing to hide. Jesus was a man 100% mission driven. Jesus was a man who absolutely displayed the most ultimate expression of masculinity in the history of the world. He got up early. He went to a desolate place, and there he prayed. Gentlemen, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're the last one to wake up in your house, that's weak. If you've got a family, unless you're on some kind of weird shift, you need to be the first one up every morning. Of course, there are exceptions, but in general, you need to be the first one up. Why? Because you need that silence that happens before everybody else wakes up. You say, well, I don't like that. I need to sleep in. Or I don't like that. What am I going to do? Or I'm going to wake up and I'm going to, instantly cave in that incredible gift of silence with social media or something else. I do it. I do it absolutely. But I'll tell you what, when I stay committed to holding the frame on that silence and just being still in it, there's always gifts. Silence exposes truth. That also applies in a sales conversation. You want to know the truth of what's really going on in a client? Hold the space and be silent. Let them have a revelation. Ask a question and shut up. Be still. Hold the space. Your silence will expose the truth. Not only to you, but oftentimes to them as well. And you get to be the catalyst of that. But it's going to be real hard to do that if you're the guy that wakes up later than everybody else. If you're the guy that wakes up without intention. If you're the guy that wakes up without a mission. If you're the guy that wakes up, keeps the noise going so he never has to deal with his feelings, his truth, the secrets, the lies, everything that he's dealing with. Instead, he just hides in the noise day after day, and a year goes by, and another year goes by, and more years go by, and next thing you know, you're so buried in the noise, it's hard to even know who you are. My encouragement would be to follow the model he's laid out here. And rising, verse 35, and rising very early in the morning, not late in the morning, very early in the morning, while it was still dark. That tells you what time it was. He departed, he left the house, and he went out to a desolate place, and there he prayed. Gentlemen, do you have a desolate place? Where is your desolate place? It might be your office. It might be your backyard. It might be your back porch. It might be a hill nearby. In fact, I've got a hill here down the street from my neighborhood that I like to park on, and it is a desolate place. And I feel such joy there when I get there. My encouragement is start practicing standing in silence and be okay with the discomfort of that silence. Have a meeting in silence with the CEO of the universe, just like Jesus did. Because you know what he did next? Well, he's out there in his desolate place, and sure enough, here comes, guess who? Simon Peter. And there was a bunch of people with him, and they came and they found him, and it says, everyone is looking for you. Can you feel him on that? Do you ever feel like everybody's looking for you? And he said to them, hey, let us go out to the next towns that I may preach there also, for that's why I came out. And he went through all of Galilee, preaching in the synagogues and casting out demons, creating quite a stir, and healing and serving and helping and loving and forgiving and bringing hope. Why? Because he went into the dark and the silence first and connected, found power, and then brought it to others. And I'd have you consider that if you're a man, you're called to lead. And if you're called to lead, why not follow the most masculine example ever and seek the truth that's exposed in silence? That's what I got for you today, my friends. This is Brian Q. Davis signing off from the Sales Warrior Podcast, a conversation about dominating your marketplace without sacrificing your body, your marriage, your children, or your soul. If you'd like to go deeper into the content of this podcast, go to thesaleswar.com. You can pick up the book on Amazon or Audible. You can also find training, the Sales Weaponization Protocol, 20 years of experience packed into 8 powerful chapters. If you got value from this podcast, please share it with someone you feel like might get value. Leave a rating or a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps the podcast. Until next time, thank you and God bless.